Hey you! Welcome to Happy Sex Ed! Today we are going to try something a little different because we are going to watch a show together. Now, why are we going to watch a show together, you may ask? Well, I was thinking it would be super fun to look at popular TV shows together and analyze them based on the portrayal of sexuality. The words we're going to look into, the themes we're going to see, is going to be sex negativity, heteronormativity, body shaming, slut shaming, erotophobia, and male sexual entitlement. So, if you don't know yet what these things mean, don't fret, we're going to talk about all of it while watching it. How I Met Your Mother was a show that I used to love as a young teen. I was obsessed with that show. I watched it all the time. I watched all the seasons more than once. But when I was in my early 20s, I started watching again and I noticed something is off. Somehow the show didn't feel so cozy to watch anymore. I noticed that a lot of things were making me uncomfortable, but I couldn't quite put into words what it was that made me feel so strange. But now I can. So now we're here. Grab your popcorn, grab your coffee, and we are going to dive deep into How I Met Your Mother. Let's first look at the main characters so we kind of see who we're dealing with. First, there's Ted, the guy who is portrayed as the hopeless romantic, the guy who just really wants to get married. Then we have Barney, the guy who is portrayed as the absolute playboy, the guy who jumps from girl to girl, and all that he really cares about is to conquer as many women as humanly possible. And then we have the couple, Lily and Marshall, who already get engaged in the first episode, and Robin, who joins a little later as she starts being Ted's first love interest in the first episode. Now, if we look at the cast, what do we see? We see that all the main characters are white, they are all straight, they're all cis, they are all conventionally attractive, and they're all thin. Now, why is that important to mention? Because this show is going to be told from that perspective and following that narrative. So it's important to keep in mind what we're dealing with here. And now, I think it's time to jump into the first scene. Now, one more little thing that I want to mention is that if you love How I Met Your Mother, if you enjoy watching it, this is certainly not to tell you to stop doing that. This is going to be true for all the shows that I'm going to analyze. If you love watching it, if it brings you joy, amazing, continue doing that. But I think it's great to be mindful of all the messages we are sometimes really unconsciously absorbing that shape the way we see reality. We see our bodies, ourselves, our sexuality. And if we do that, we have the armor that we need to watch and enjoy all of that without any problems.
Marshall was taking the biggest step of his life, and me? I'm calling up your Uncle Barney.
Hey, so you know how I've always had a thing for half Asian girls? Well, now I've got a new favorite. Lebanese girls. Lebanese girls are the new half Asians.
So this is one of the very first scenes where we are introduced to Barney. Barney is the playboy, the guy who cares about nothing but women. And we see him already in the way he's going to be portrayed all throughout the show. We notice that he sexualizes people based on their racial and ethnic identity, which is problematic for many reasons. Firstly, that flattens out an entire group of people. It does not at all take into consideration that every individual is different. Also, he talks about his new obsession with a new racial identity as if that's something completely interchangeable. Now, this also shows a complete ignorance, obviously, for the culture that he is speaking about. It is very clear that he's not interested in learning anything about Lebanese culture. And unfortunately, this also totally plays into the trope of the exotic woman. It is this idea that anything that is exotic becomes sexy, becomes different, becomes erotic. And this is just not good for anyone. One of the reasons this is also very damaging is because of something that is called the confirmation bias. If we have a specific view of, for example, a group of people, like in this case, Lebanese women. So in this case, Barney sees them as these really sexy and sexual beings. He is going to fall into the trap of seeing what he projects onto them in them. So he is going to see whatever they do, however they express themselves, he's going to see it as sexual. And that is just very dehumanizing and very devaluing. So if you notice, thinking anything along the lines of, this group of people or this ethnic identity is XYZ, please think again, because any group of people is made of individuals. And some are going to be like that, and some are going to be like that. But it's not this homogeneous mass of people. And this is really important to keep in mind.
I see what this is about. Have you forgotten what I said to you the night we met? Ted, I'm gonna teach you how to live. Barney, we met at the urinal.
Oh, right.
Lesson 1, lose the goatee. It doesn't go with your suit.
I'm not wearing a suit.
Lesson 2, get a suit. Suits are cool. Exhibit A. Lesson 3, don't even think about getting married till you're 30.
30. Right. You're right.
What is happening in this scene is that Barney basically tells Ted, do not get married until you're 30. And in this case, this has nothing to do with him wanting for Ted to have all the self-growth necessary to move into marriage. It is solely about collecting as many sexual experiences as possible before you can settle down. Now, this really reinforces a very toxic idea around masculinity, that the more people you have sex with, the more attractive you're going to be, the more manly you're going to be. And this is a very toxic narrative that values sex based on quantity, not really based on the depth of the connection that the people are having, not based on who you're sleeping with. It really doesn't matter. For Barney, sexual encounters are a thing to collect leg stamps. He sees women not really as partners, but as objects, truly. He sees them as something that he can collect, as something he can move on from very quickly. And yeah, now this is not to say that there is something wrong with having casual sex, but in the way that Barney does it, it does seem that there is a very fragile sense of self-worth underlying his behavior, because he really puts his entire identity into how many women he sleeps with. And he sets himself goals. He comes up with tactics of how to conquer them. And yeah, if he wouldn't have that, there would be not much left of his personality, which kind of shows how fragile his ego really is. So clearly the problem is with him here. My little message to you when it comes to the question, I've only had sex with one person, or I've had sex with 40 people, is that bad? It's just that it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are happy with what you're doing, if the partner and the partners you are doing it with are also happy with it, if there's fully informed consent, it really doesn't matter. If you are having sex outside of the idea of having a baby, you are doing it for pleasure. You are doing it to get joy out of it and to give this joy also to another person. It really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of it. It just matters that you like it and your partner likes it.
And there she was. It was like something from an old movie, where the sailor sees the girl across the crowded dance floor, turns to his buddy and says, "See that girl? I'm gonna marry her someday."
Hey, Barney. See that girl?
Oh, yeah, you just know she likes it dirty. Go say hi.
This is the scene where Ted sees Robin for the very first time. Robin is going to be his love interest for the rest of this episode. And yeah, what you can see here really clearly is that he does not know anything about her, yet he already talks about getting married and about her being the perfect girl for him based on her looks. He doesn't know her. The only thing he knows is the way she looks. So this also reinforces the idea that beauty equals romantic compatibility, not her personality, not what she likes or dislikes. None of that is just her looks. Also, since he doesn't know her yet, what is being done here is that he projects all his fantasies, all his hopes onto her. He thinks of her as what he would like her to be, which leaves very little room for her to express herself as an authentic human being with her own interests, because the fantasy in Ted's head is already done. And if she doesn't live up to that, it's going to be difficult. And that's an impossible situation to start from. Now, Barney also makes this lovely little comment where he says, you can just see she likes it dirty. Now, what he's saying with that is also a projection. He sees her as a sexual being because he thinks she's sexy, and he totally projects his fantasies onto her. If you think about it, both men do a similar thing here. They see a beautiful woman and they project onto her what they would want from her. Ted projects his wishes for a romantic connection, while Barney projects his wish for a sexual encounter. But there is, if you think about it, no space for Robin herself. She is a whole person with a personality, with interests, with passions. But both men don't leave any space for that because they have a fixed fantasy in their mind. Lastly, it reinforces the idea that a beautiful appearance, or what is considered beautiful, gives men permission to sexualize someone. Or, speaking more broadly, gives anyone who looks super sexy tends to be sexualized. And that's not how it should be.
Billy, I'm so sorry. Take us to the hospital.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you hit her?
Hit me? Please! This guy can barely even spank me in bed for fun. He's all like, oh, honey, did that hurt? And I'm like, come on, let me have you, pansy. Wow, complete stranger.
No, it's okay. Go on. So, these spankings, you in pajamas or au naturel?
What happened in this scene is that Lily had a harmless little accident where her eye got injured, so they have to go to the hospital. With this scene, there's actually so many layers that are going quite wrong. Firstly, domestic violence is played for laughs. But I don't want to get too deep into that because this is not what this video is about, but this is something to keep in mind. Secondly, and this is the main thing I want to focus on, Marshall, so Lily's fiancé, is being portrayed as weak for, first of all, never having the ability to hit her. He would never do such a thing. Secondly, for asking for her consent in the bedroom when they're doing things like spanking. Now, Lily is actively shaming him for asking, hey, is that okay? Did this hurt? Which is really unfortunate because if you think about it, Marshall did it right. Marshall showed empathy and emotional attunement when he made sure that Lily was comfortable in the situation they were in. And this is something that I see going wrong a lot in relationships these days, because certain things like spanking, like hitting, like maybe even choking, are so normalized by certain little movies and also some popular TV shows that people think this is just what everyone likes and is into, which is not the case. If this is something you're interested in, you have to make sure that your partner is also, not everyone is going to want that. And the fact that Marshall is shamed for that really gives the completely wrong message. So what I want to say here, Marshall, you did a good job. Be like Marshall. This is how it's done. All good. Please, Marshall, keep on going. The last thing that I want to talk about is that Lily mentions sex, which is immediately taken as an excuse to sexualize her. You can see the cab driver asking right away, so what are you wearing when those spankings happen? Making it very clear that that is something that turns him on, which is completely inappropriate at the best and a form of assault at worst. So this kind of also plays into the narrative that a woman who is open, who may talk about sex and sexuality, is also someone you can sexualize, which is not the case. And we can see in this scene that both Lily as well as Marshall are very uncomfortable with the cab driver's comment.
Smurf penis.
Son, a piece of advice. When you go on a first date, you really don't want to say Smurf penis. Girls don't ordinarily like that. But this was no ordinary girl.
I remember watching this scene as a young girl and thinking, oh yeah, if I want to be cool, if I want to be desirable, I have to be different from the other girls. Which, this is so toxic because it really downplays women and their worth. To be a desirable girl, you have to be different from other girls. If you see it like that, this is just blatant misogyny. It sees women as not being able to understand humor, as being no fun, as being not cool at all. And you have to make a big step away from others to be desirable. Those kind of thinking patterns is also what creates female competition. The idea to look at other girls and try to get away from how they are, to compete with them for male attention. Those kind of things come from comments like this. Now, it's supposed to be a compliment, right? She's not like other girls. But all that it is misogyny. He's not saying she is great. He is saying what makes her great is that she is different from other girls because girls are boring and not cool.
Let's see. She likes dogs?
I've got 5 dogs.
She drinks scotch?
I love a scotch that's old enough to order its own scotch.
Can quote obscure lines from Ghostbusters?
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
Now, this scene really builds on the previous scene in the sense that Robin is being praised for liking things other girls don't like, for having a ton of dogs, drinking scotch, watching Ghostbusters. All of those are kind of more male-coded preferences, which reinforces the idea that everything female-coded or all the things that we associate with girls or women preferences are being devalued. Now, another problem here is that it contributes to super flat character writing, because someone's preferences about things are really just a super tiny part of what makes them them. And clearly, Ted is not really interested in like the deeper layers of her personality. He's interested in very superficial preferences to see if they match. But this is not what a relationship builds on. Now, Robin is a classic cool girl trope, which is basically a very flatly written woman who has all those male-coded attributes and preferences, is super chill, would never complain, super low maintenance, but of course still totally gorgeous. And this is a very unattainable male patriarchal fantasy that we should never compare ourselves with.
You know, I've had a jar of olives just sitting in my fridge forever.
I can take them off your hands.
They're all yours.
Oh, it is on! It is on till the break of dawn.
Now, this scene I actually really appreciate. It's quite clear that Robin is initiating sex. She's the one who has the idea to go to her place, and her comparison with the olives makes it pretty clear what she's talking about. And I really appreciate this scene because she is not being devalued, she's not being slut-shamed. She is just being seen as a person who is in the mood and goes for it, which is exactly how it should be. And by doing that, this show actually does it different than a lot of other 2000 or early 2000 shows, where a lot of times sex was kind of portrayed as something the guy had to earn by being really nice over a longer period of time, which is a very strange idea of seeing this. But yeah, in this case, Robin is in the mood. She decides to initiate and go for it. And wow, I'm impressed. This is actually nice. A woman wants sex, and the world just keeps spinning. How nice, how refreshing.
Sir? No, the moment wasn't right. Look, this woman could actually be my future wife. I want our first kiss to be amazing.
Oh, Ted, that is so sweet. So you chickened out like a little bitch.
She didn't even give me the signal.
What, is she gonna bat her eyes at you in Morse code? Ted? Kiss me. No, you just kiss her.
Not if you don't get the signal.
Did Marshall give me the signal?
No, I didn't, I swear.
Now, just to understand what is happening here. So, Robin is a TV reporter and she had to go to a really spontaneous gig. And so, actually, Ted didn't get the chance to go up with her. Now, the two are saying goodbye. And later, he tells his friends about this scene, right? And they're all shocked by the fact that he didn't kiss her. But the reason why Ted didn't kiss her was because he wasn't sure she wanted it, which actually is quite a good reason not to kiss someone. But then he is being mocked by all of his friends, which again portrays gentle, caring, and consented-minded men as weak. And this is actually quite a dangerous narrative. It's so subtle and quite underlying. It's not that obvious, but if you really think about it, it's quite dangerous. When Barney kisses Marshall, it's obviously without consent. The scene is just used for laughs, which unfortunately in this show is often the case, that same-sex interactions are just used as a gag. Also, it shows that men's boundaries are not being valued whatsoever. There's this double standard that with men it doesn't really matter, and men cannot really feel uncomfortable in sexual situations, which obviously is not the case. Also, what we see here is some latent homophobia, because, as I said, homosexual acts tend to be used just for laughs, not included in a real storyline. And also, it's seen as not really real. Obviously, if a woman would have kissed Lily's fiancé, she would have had a problem with it, most likely. But because it's a guy, it's seen as it doesn't matter, which is a different way of saying it's not real.
Troy.
I think I like your nose.
I think I'm in love with you.
What? What?
What?
Now, why is it so problematic that Ted told Robin at the first date that he loves her? Now, while the show acts shocked, still Ted is kind of portrayed as the hopeless romantic who's just being so honest and vulnerable with his feelings. However, Ted does not know Robin, so everything he sees in her is his own fantasy of how she's gonna be. And of course, he thinks she's gorgeous. So, no, he's not in love with her. This is not real love. And telling her is actually putting an immense emotional pressure on her that completely takes the chance from her to get into the subtle discovery of where this relationship or this encounter is going to lead for her. So yeah, she kicks him out. as she should.
It's been hurting, right? You know what that is. Hunger. You're hungry for experience, hungry for something new, hungry for olives. But you're too scared to do anything about it.
Yeah, I'm scared. Okay? But when I think of spending the rest of my life with Lily, committing forever, no other women, it doesn't scare me at all. I'm marrying that girl.
The next scene I quite appreciate because I believe it's actually a situation where a lot of young men find themselves in, where a lot of their friends tell them, no, you have to go out there, you have to be really sexually active, you have to sleep with a lot of women. And I love the way Marshall reacts to it. He seems to be really in touch with his emotions. He seems to know exactly what he wants. He comes off as someone who is very emotionally mature. He says, yeah, of course it's scary. But if I think about just being with her, no other women, I don't feel scared. This is what I want. He has it clear what he wants. And this is not settling down for him, settling for something less. This is really what he wants, and he knows it. And Barney's comments of what a man should be is not facing him at all, which is incredibly strong. For Barney, what other people think of him is so important. So if you compare the two men, Marshall and Barney, one of them is quite emotionally mature, in touch with his emotions, and secure in who he is. And it's not Barney.
You know what? I'm done being single. I'm not good at it. Look, obviously, you can't tell a woman you just met you love her. But it sucks that you can't. I'll tell you something, though. If a woman, not you, just some hypothetical woman, were to bear with me through all this, I think I'd make a damn good husband. Because that's the stuff I'd be good at. Stuff like making her laugh and being a good father.
This scene really shows something about Ted, which is that he has no empathy towards Robin's situation. He says, it really sucks that you can't do this. It really sucks that I cannot express those things even though I want to. What he's not considering is how she is feeling with what he is telling her and all the pressure he is putting her in by making such a statement. What we see here is romantic entitlement because he thinks he would be such a great partner, such a great dad even. So then if he's such a good guy, he deserves to get the girl. And this is quite a dangerous narrative that we have to be really mindful of. There's also this amazing quote with an unknown author, unfortunately, which says, girls are not vending machines in which you put in kindness coins until sex pops out. Which I think this is a really important thing to remember because this is kind of what is being portrayed here. He thinks because he is so kind, because he would be such a great daddy, because of all those things, she kind of owes him the romance. She owes him the relationship. In the same way that Barney thinks, because he is so sexy and so manly and so experienced, women owe him sex. But the truth is, nobody owes anyone anything. And it doesn't matter how kind and sweet you are or how attractive you are. People don't owe you things. You don't owe people things. And that is always important to remember. I know that so many girls and women feel pressure to have sex when a guy does something really nice for them. And that, I think, is really something we have to get far, far away from, because sex is not transactional. You don't give sex to someone. You have sex with someone because you're really into it. We want to or we don't. Now we are getting to the end of this episode, and we actually have talked about all the scenes that I wanted to touch upon. I really hope you like this little show analysis idea, And yeah, if you want, feel free to let me know in the comments which show you would like to see next. And yeah, let's keep unlearning together, and let's keep talking about sex and sexuality in a way that is empowering and that just feels good. I really hope to see you next time. Please like and share, and yeah, I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye.